Morning. I'm Batman. This is my Bat Cave. I'm gonna stop making this whispering voice because my Batman is terrible. Hey, how you guys doing? Today is Thursday, November 5th, and this is the In Case You Missed It for Psychology 1. Obviously, if you weren't in class today, these are the things that we talked about. I hope you're well. Hope everything's going okay. But we did go through a few things today that I want to make sure to mention with you. So just a couple things. This might be a spot where you are going to want to grab out a notebook, a good old pen and paper notebook, or if you want to, do the old typing thing, that is obviously more than welcome. When we do tests on these units, and when we are going to do tests on some of the units, not all the units, but when we do tests on the units, obviously there isn't going to be much of a way that I can stop you from using your notebooks. And so, taking good notes could be the key to, being super duper successful on, on the formative tests or summative tests in this class. So kind of take that in mind as we go. Now, with today, you're not going to have to write down everything. So I'm going to try to do my best. Be like, hey, don't worry about writing this one down. Write this one down. But there you go. So we're going to start off with the goal slide for the day. Like what do we want to get done? And like I said, today's Thursday. And so here are your quick reminders. First of all, first remember, and this is important, you don't have school tomorrow. I have to come to work. You guys don't have to come to school. Please enjoy your day off, sleep in, do something for you. Go out and enjoy the beautiful weather because, you don't know how many more good days we're going to get between now and April or May, or it's Wisconsin, so June, you never know. So please enjoy the day somehow tomorrow. Be safe, be, socially distanced. Keep track of the election results. Who knows when they're going to be done counting? I think they have like one dude counting on his fingers. I have no idea. But enjoy the day. Also a reminder that the work that I gave you guys yesterday, the What is Psychology sheet, the article with the 4 questions, that is due by midnight tonight. So please do your best to get that in on time. I will work on those over the weekend. All right, so here are our goals for today. By the end of today's class, what I would like you guys to be able to do or be able to accomplish as a student is I want to share the objectives for the unit with you, or the outcomes that I hope you can have by the end of the unit with you, so that you guys have a main idea of what it is that we're going to be looking at in the next week or so. But the big thing I need you guys to be able to do by the end of class today is define psychology. I am going to give you a definition that I universally want you guys to remember. I know memorization is, fairly pointless, but I do think it's important, that you should have an idea of the class that you're in. And then I'm going to give you guys some work time. So obviously, if you're watching this, whatever time you have allotted for psychology today, use it to get some work done when you're done watching this. And in honor of the big Marshall-Waterloo game, I pulled out one of my favorite blocks of all time, even though it is a Badger getting smoked. Hopefully this is the way we treat Waterloo on Friday night. So there you go. All right, so this first slide is actually the title slide for the unit. So you might want to get down the name of the unit in your notebook. I know a lot of you guys like to have like definite starting and stopping points where where units begin and end. And so unit 1 is called the field of psychology. And, it's the usual thing that you get in science related classes. The first unit is basically going to be like, what is it? What is this about? What can I do with it? And so this one is really going to kind of cover some basics. It's going to cover some history. It's going to cover some problem solving techniques. And, all in all, just basically by the end of this, I want you to have a gist of what it is that psychologists do. Okay. So yesterday I had you guys do that brainstorming activity, and my lights keep going out while I'm recording these. Apparently it's the thing where I said I'm Batman. Oh, stand up, wave your arms. There, they're back on. They'll be on for like 7 minutes and they'll go back off. Anyway, sorry, you get to watch my aerobic workout for the morning. I thought that was really interesting that when you guys described what you would find in a psychologist's office, you basically described a therapist as you would see them in TV or movies. You talked about comfy couches, degrees on walls, potted plants, dim lighting, a big wooden desk. You guys talked about legal pads and pens. One group even wrote like the Newton's pendulum, the thing with the ball where you pull the ball out and it clicks into the other ball, stuff like that. Some group, and I love this one, put like a little Zen garden. You ever seen those little like sand things with a little rake where I thought it was great. But to me, what that means is when you guys view a psychologist, you guys think about a therapist or a psychiatrist. And so kind of what I'm going to try to do in this unit is go into maybe some of the other jobs that aren't there. Obviously, your jobs that you guys listed were pretty similar. Psychology teacher, thanks for thinking of me. Therapists, marriage counselors. One group had a sports psychologist. That was pretty good. I appreciated that one. It was a little off the board. But the important thing to me in that first one was the definition of psychology, and we'll get to that in a minute. I thought that was pretty unique what you guys did. So here are the unit objectives. I don't necessarily know that you need to write these down. Some people like to write them down so at the end of the unit they know, did I get out of it what I need to? You can go without that if you want to. So there are really 5 things that I want you to get out of this unit. Five big ideas. The first one I want you guys to be able to do is define psychology and describe the work psychologists do. Now, you're going to notice later there's another one of these that's pretty similar to that, and I'll talk about why they're different. So I want you to be able to get this definition down. I want you to be able to talk about how people make money in psychology. You don't have to identify all the jobs, but I want you to get just kind of a gross idea of what things are going on. We're going to talk about why psychology is a science. We're going to talk about the scientific method a little bit. We're going to talk about how psychology as a science is different than like chemistry as a science and biology as a science. And then there is, I think, at least one huge difference that you see in psychology versus many other sciences. The next one says identify some of the work that psychologists do. It should have said did. I typoed. It's a little bit of a brief history of psych that we're going to do in the middle. I'm going to keep it very brief and to the point. We're going to talk about those guys that it brought up in the article that I had you guys reading, the What is Psychology article. So we're going to talk about Wundt. We're going to talk about James. We're going to talk about Freud and get into some of those guys and lay some of the foundations for things that we're going to talk about this semester and next semester. Then we're going to go into what I think is probably the most challenging thing from the unit, and that's we're going to talk about the 7 modern day approaches to psych. Okay. I put 6 on the slide. I don't know what's wrong. Oh, you know what? I pulled up the old presentation. So we're going to talk about the 7 approaches to modern day psych. There are 7 problem-solving models that are used. Now, depending on what college you go to or what high school textbook you use, you might see 5, you might see 8. I'm going to teach you guys 7. You can use those 7 however you need to. And last but not least, we're going to talk about how psychologists think critically. We're going to kind of talk about that throughout the whole thing, how they problem solve and how they look at things. Now, before we get into a book definition of psychology, I wanted to share this with you guys. This is, I don't know if you guys have ever seen this. It's called Wordle. Wordle is this interesting thing where you can take a bunch of text, plug it in, and it'll kick out a graphic organizer where the words that are the most common become the biggest words on the things. It picks out like the important words. And so what I did is I took every definition that you guys typed into your docs yesterday in the brainstorm, and I entered it into Wordle, and it kicked this out. And so psychology is, according to you guys, it's a study. We knew that. Nice job. You knew that ology was study of. So it's a study of, and according to you guys, it's a study of the brain. Let's see, how the brain works, behavior, the mind, mental processes. You guys use the word human a lot, or persons a lot, or humans and people. And so universally, you guys have psychology as being just a human science, and that's not 100% accurate. And we'll talk about that as we go. But I thought it was kind of interesting. I really honestly thought you guys did a really good job with these. I think there's a lot of really big, important words here that we are going to talk about as the year goes on. And so I just wanted to show you guys, kind of what you came up with. Obviously, you guys study the brain. That's where you guys are going with this. Now, as far as the real definition, and the thing I do want you guys to remember, what is it? So by definition, and it's really a short definition, and it's one that I want you to remember. Psychology is a scientific study of cognition and behavior. Now, if you're anything like me, when I was younger and I was in school and I would not know what a word meant, I would ask a teacher. And sometimes you had teachers that told you, and sometimes you had teachers that were like, oh, they make these books and they're in a bookcase and they're called dictionaries. And I'm like, yeah, thanks a lot for your help. I don't know why they're paying you. And so I would go back and get a dictionary and I'd look up the word, and inevitably, when I was reading the definition, I would come across another word I didn't know. and then you look that word up, and then you just give up. You don't even care. But the problem with that definition, it seems simple. Psychology is the scientific study of cognition and behavior. Simple, easy. You guys will be able to remember that. No problem. 7 words or something like that. No big deal. All right. The problem is those words all mean something, and there's probably at least one word in there that you're like, I don't really know what that word means, and that word's probably cognition. And so cognition is the thought process. It's thinking. And it doesn't matter how simple or how complex that thought process is. There's thinking involved. 0 plus 0 is 0. What color is the sky? Well, usually blue. Today, a little gray. Okay. E equals mc squared. What does the letter C stand for? It's the speed of light. It can be the simplest thing to the most complex thing. Tying your shoes to making a nuclear bomb. All those things require thought, and therefore, in the world of psychology, they are worth studying. 0 plus 0 still requires a lot of activity. It requires your eyes. It requires your hands to write the answer. It requires your brain to do the calculation and make sense of the language and make sense of the symbols. And so even something that's simple that you know the answer to, what's your name? All right, that requires a ridiculous amount of computing and activity to make that work. And so in psychology, the first thing that we're gonna study is thought. And so obviously, the brain is a major factor here. We're gonna talk a lot about the brain and how the brain acts. We have an entire chapter just dedicated mostly to the brain that we're gonna look at. Behavior is anything an organism does. Now, notice I use the word organism and I didn't use the word human because psychology can also apply to other living things. There are people out there who get paid to be pet psychologists. They deal with depressed cats and dogs and hyperactive Shih Tzus. I just like saying Shih Tzu, and things along those lines. And the thing about the behavior is, again, it can be simple, pretty simple. I don't know can you guys all do this? I can't do this thing, okay? It can be pretty simple, or it can be a complex thing, hitting a baseball, shooting a free throw. Your job at work, probably, some of you guys have to work cash registers. That's complex. I don't know how to do that. All right. But it can also be voluntary and involuntary actions. Obviously, voluntary things that we're in conscious control of. I move my hands a lot when I talk. I'm in conscious control of that. But there are things that I don't think about, like blinking, okay, that are not necessarily under my control. So they're studying thinking and then the behaviors that an organism carries out, what they're doing, why they're doing it, what is the goal that we accomplish. And we'll talk about that. Or like with lights again. I'm done. I'm not going to stand up and do light switch aerobics again. And basically the last part, psychology is a science, social science, but it's a science because it uses an organized method to seek proof. Now, we're going to talk a lot about that method in chapter 2, but we're going to give you an introduction to why this really is a science class on Monday. Okay. And so for today, that's everything I wanted to talk about. I appreciate you guys. I know online schooling is not ideal. And if you tuned into this, I appreciate you taking the extra effort of making up the time that you missed. Like I said, I hope you're well. Use the time that you had allotted to finish What is Psychology. That's due by midnight tonight. If you have any questions, I will be on my office hour thing from 1 to 1:30. Otherwise, I'm available via chat or email. There you go. I'm going to do the correcting on Sunday. I will see you guys soon, hopefully. Bye-bye.